I'm about to rank every MCU movie released after Endgame, including the Thunderbolts. Let's see how similar my list is to yours, and what surprises I may have with my ranking. To start off my ranking, at 14 is Thor Love and Thunder. This 100% has to be the most disappointing MCU movie ever made. Not just out of all the movies after Endgame, this is the most disappointing movie out of every phase there is in the MCU. Taika Waititi took over the Thor franchise with Ragnarok, and he finally found the tone for the Thor movies, and it became a fan favorite. Because of the success of Ragnarok, it gave out high expectations for the fourth film. Adding onto those expectations, they casted Christian Bale as Gore, which should be amazing, and they were saying how the script is even better than Ragnarok. All of that hype just for the movie to be one big joke. Ragnarok had a perfect blend of comedy and seriousness with lots of emotion, while Love and Thunder amplified the comedy by 100, and it felt like there was nothing serious about the film. Not saying there aren't a couple entertaining parts about this film, but it was a complete flop. Next at number 13, I have Eternals. This one hurts me because I think this movie would have been a lot better as a TV series. The movie has a bunch of flaws, but the one thing that I do love about this movie is that they have a great ensemble of characters. I was very intrigued by each character's individual story, but where they ran into a problem was the fact that they had so many characters that were getting their MCU debut in one movie. So that left them not enough time to tell each individual story. It's basically like if the first MCU movie was the Avengers, where they would have to tell the story of the Avengers movie, but also give each character their introductions, rather than having their introductions be before the team-up movie. So that's why having more time within a TV series would have made the Eternals more of a success. Next, at number 12, is Quantumania. This one was hard for me to rank because of how I look at it as an Ant-Man film, and then how I look at it for the entirety of the MCU. As just an Ant-Man film within the trilogy, I enjoyed it. Ant-Man movies were always funny and had lower stakes than most MCU projects, so I always just go into Ant-Man films looking to be entertained, which I was with this movie. But where the problem for this film comes into place is that this movie wasn't just playing a small role in the MCU. Kang was the main villain of the film, and he was supposed to be the next Thanos. So having Ant-Man beat him early in this time in the MCU, it takes away a lot of the build-up for his development as being the next Thanos. Luckily for this film, with Kang not being the next Thanos anymore and Doctor Doom taking over, it makes it feel better about Ant-Man defeating him, as he won't need to be seen as a big multiversal threat anymore. Next at number 11, The Marvels. I will start off by saying that this film is a step up from the first Captain Marvel film. I also think that it was a fun and entertaining dynamic between Carol, Monica, and Kamala. They are good together, and I hope they are together more in the future. But once again, Captain Marvel tends to have some of the most forgettable villains. The best superhero movies have great villains, and in Captain Marvel and the Marvels, their villains were subpar at best. Especially with a character as powerful as Captain Marvel, you need to have an amazing villain to make it interesting. Next, at number 10, is Wakanda Forever. I actually enjoyed this movie for the most part, but it is the only Marvel movie that I have not watched more than once yet. I don't hate this movie or think it's bad, there just hasn't been anything that made me want to go back and rewatch it. I rewatched the bad movies mainly to see if it was actually as bad as I thought it was at first, or I rewatched the good ones because of obvious reasons. It's really good and fun to watch. But this one is smack dab in the middle to the point where I don't think about it a lot. But I definitely do want to rewatch it sometime soon. I know there is a lot of emotion in this movie, and I truly love Namor, which, like I said before, you need to have a good villain in a superhero film, which this movie does. Next at number 9 is Black Widow. I'm one of the people that think this movie isn't as bad as most people make it out to be. The biggest problem of this film is that it was released after Black Widow's death, and that already puts this film out for failure. But there is a lot of emotion I felt in this film. The entire backstory between Natasha and Yelena really put me in my feels. The dynamic and comedy between her family was great, and it set up good stuff for Alexei and Yelena in the future, as we just saw in the Thunderbolts. There were many backlashes about the villains for this movie, especially Taskmaster, but I won't dive deeply into that as everybody already knows the entire deal with that. But the entirety of the villain for Dreykov wasn't as bad as people make it out to be, in my opinion. Was it perfect? No. But it wasn't so bad where I think the movie was a complete disaster, and I can confidently say that it is a rewatchable movie, which I can enjoy every time I watch it. Next, at number 8, is Captain America: The Brave New World. This movie was exactly what I was expecting going into it. I liked how they gave Sam development, and he really grew into the role as Captain America. I enjoyed the plot revolving around the world fighting over the discovery of antimanium, plus finally acknowledging the giant celestial sticking out of the ocean, which I always question, when is anyone ever going to talk about that? My biggest complaint about this movie is the leader. His literal superpower is having a superhuman brain. He is so smart that he should have such a complex plan and seems like a great struggle to figure out what is going on and make it basically impossible to beat him. But they really underutilized his abilities and made his master plan seem so blah, while also being too easy to defeat. Next, at number 7, is Multiverse of Madness. I don't think this is a bad film, but it also falls under the same problem of Love and Thunder, how it did not meet expectations. I was expecting multiversal chaos from the title, the trailer, and how they messed with the multiverse in No Way Home. But no, there really wasn't any multiverse chaos at all. They were just jumping throughout the multiverse, trying to run away from Wanda, who was the villain of the movie. I was okay with Wanda's plotline, but just wished she wasn't the main villain, and by the end she turned good again to help Doctor Strange fight an even greater evil. Next, at number 6, is Spider-Man: Far From Home. I think I like this movie for some reasons on why people don't like this movie. Many Spider-Man fans miss the grounded, street-level fighting Spider-Man in New York City, and this movie takes him all the way to Europe, not at his street-level capabilities. But that's kind of why I like it. It was something new that we got to see within Spider-Man. We have so many movies with your normal generic Spider-Man stuff that it was cool seeing him out and about doing different stuff. Yes, I hope the next Spider-Man movie we get to see the classic Spider-Man, but I'm happy we got to see something a little different from his other movies. Also, I think this movie did a good job clearing up the events of Endgame with the blip and all that stuff. At number 5 is Spider-Man: No Way Home. I want to start off by saying that no matter all the negative stuff that I'm about to point out about this film, I still do love this movie a lot and think it's such a fun watch, especially with all the nostalgia of my old childhood characters returning. Going off of that, even though it was so epic to see all those characters return, that also blinds people of how good this movie actually is. The entire beginning plot to set up the events of the multiverse leaking in seemed like lazy writing and didn't feel like a satisfying reason. But whatever, I'll ignore that stuff because it brought back so many past actors to this movie that I love. And another thing that I was disappointed on was how Spider-Man's entire legal problems with Mysterio's death was just brushed over in like a 5 to 10 minute montage in the beginning of the film. That post-credit scene in Far From Home was such a big cliffhanger to set up some really good stuff to make as the plot for the entire movie, but they just ignored all that and turned the movie into a fan service film. I would have rather they dove deep into that criminal plotline for the entirety of the film and saved all this multiverse and fan service stuff for a future film. At number 4 is Deadpool and Wolverine. This movie falls into the same category as No Way Home in my opinion. It relies heavily on fan service over a really good plot. The only reason why I am okay with that more in Deadpool than I am No Way Home is that I expected that more from Deadpool. That's exactly what I wanted out of a Deadpool film. Lots of laughs and cameos. So this movie, it is a lot easier to ignore the subpar plot point that brought Deadpool and Wolverine together. Next, at number 3 is Shang-Chi. This might be my favorite origin movie in the MCU. It is close with Iron Man 1. I love the style and characters in this movie, plus all the choreography was great and it told a great story to get Shang-Chi back into his past. It just makes me really excited to see more of him in future movies. Next, at number 2 is The Thunderbolts. I thought this movie was great. It did have less fighting than I thought it was going to have, but it doesn't hurt this movie at all. The emotions, character motivation, and dynamic together were perfect. This movie truly felt like an old school MCU film. Lastly, at number 1 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This movie is just beautiful. Not only is this the best post-Endgame MCU movie, it is up there as one of the best MCU movies of all time in my opinion. James Gunn never disappoints to perfectly blend comedy and emotion with a great overall story. Also, the High Revolutionary was a great villain, and the sub-villain of Adam Warlock was a great add to. I just hope that the MCU can build more movies like this one. That's all for my rankings. I'm sure you have different opinions than mine, so I'd love to hear what your ranking is. So make sure you leave a comment down below and also subscribe to stay up to date for more Marvel news.